The political world has been drooling with anticipation for Hillary Clinton's testimony today before the House Select Committee on Benghazi. Now, back in January 2013, when Clinton answered questions from a Senate committee on what happened leading up to the attack, there was drama.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
The tone that day was in stark contrast to Clinton's tone today.
Despite all the previous investigations and all the talk about partisan agendas, I'm here to honor those we lost and to do what I can to aid those who serve us still.
With more on the former Secretary of State and would-be president's testimony, WGBH's Adam Riley reports.
Secretary Clinton, how are you feeling? Are you ready?
At the outset of Hillary Clinton's testimony, Congressman Trey Gowdy said his Benghazi committee isn't trying to bring her down.
Madam Secretary, I understand there are people, frankly, in both parties who have suggested that this investigation is about you. Let me assure you it is not.
To which Maryland Democrat Elijah Cummings replied, "Of course it is."
So they set up this select committee with no rules, no deadline, and an unlimited budget. And they set them loose, Madam Secretary, because you're running for president.
When it was Clinton's turn, she expressed regret for the attacks that killed Ambassador Chris Stevens and 3 other Americans. But she also gave what sounded like a stump speech, saying smart foreign policy always brings a measure of risk.
When America is absent, especially from unstable places, there are consequences. Retreat from the world is not an option. America cannot shrink from our responsibility to lead.
Then came the questioning, which unfolded on purely partisan lines. The Republicans wanted to know why we were in Libya at all and suggested Clinton was to blame.
If you got the State Department on board, you convinced the president, you overcame the objections of Vice President Biden and Secretary of Defense Gates.
They also accused her of putting Americans in harm's way and then forgetting about them.
Libya, Benghazi, Chris Stevens, the staff there, they seem to fall off your radar in 2012, and the situation's getting much worse in 2012.
The Democrats took a totally different tack, lobbing softball questions.
If you don't have a budget, if you don't have an appropriations bill, how does that complicate your job as secretary in trying to figure out what money you can spend?
And arguing that Clinton shouldn't be testifying at all.
Even in today's hearing, not a single solitary thing that hasn't already been discussed.
For the most part, Clinton kept her cool.
Well, Congresswoman, I did not conduct most of the business that I did on behalf of our country on email.
But a few moments seemed to leave her stymied.
Madam Secretary, I have lots of friends. They send me things. I've never had somebody send me a couple of pieces of intelligence with the level of detail that Mr. Blumenthal sent me every week. That's a special friend.
And in the end, how you felt about Clinton's performance probably depends on whether you'd consider voting for her. Adam Riley, WGBH News.
Joining me to assess the impact of today, if any, are Dante Ramos, he's columnist for the Boston Globe, Rochelle Cohen, editorial page editor of the Boston Herald, and Gabriel Gomez, former Navy SEAL, one-time Republican U.S. Senate candidate from Massachusetts. Dante, Shelley, and Gabriel, good to see all 3 of you. Any light shed on anything new today, Dante?
It doesn't seem to me that anyone who tuned into this would learn anything that they didn't already know. I think the whole Benghazi issue has become such partisan theology on both sides that there's almost no new information that can penetrate it at this point. And maybe some new bits of email transcripts got onto the public record, but otherwise, I don't think we learned a whole lot that was new.
You with Dante on that, Shelley?
Basically, yes. I think there are. It takes a policy wonk, like those of us at this table, to actually get under the hood and say, "Oh, yes, I hadn't seen that email before."
But the core thing, she took responsibility in 2013. She said yet again today, I didn't either approve or deny requests for extra security. And it seems to me, until there's evidence suggesting that she's not telling the truth, it's over, isn't it? Or is it?
Well, it is, I think, as Adam said at the end of his piece. If you liked Hillary before, you're still going to like her. You're going to think she was brave and courageous to show up, even. If you didn't like her, you're going to be able to pick and choose bits of testimony and say she was untruthful.
Fits your
then.
purposes.
Yes.
You know, Gabriel,
exactly.
I know this has special resonance with you, former Navy SEAL, and obviously there were Navy SEALs here, including Glenn Doherty from Massachusetts. What's your take on this whole Benghazi thing from beginning to today, whether it's the end or not?
I think, unfortunately, it's turned into a political situation when it really shouldn't be a political situation. I mean, I think they should have had the investigation. They should have formed the committee, but the purpose of the committee should have been one thing: to find out exactly what happened, why it happened, and how you can prevent it. And I think both sides are actually guilty politicizing this. And you got Kevin McCarthy going out there and saying things that, whether they're true or not, I guess they were just, you know.
The almost speaker who said this was to get Clinton. I mean, even if, didn't he destroy any ability on behalf of his fellow Republicans today, even if everything was in good faith, to have a hearing that had value?
Well, he's only one person, too, though. And you have to understand, too, I think, that all the Democrats in that committee, even the ones outside the committee, have been complicit on politicizing this event as well. Because they have absolutely rallied around Secretary Clinton, regardless of what the facts are or what the facts that haven't been found out yet.
Do you think the facts are damning on her?
I don't think all the facts are out there, unfortunately. And I would take the perspective of, if I was, you know, if it was my son, if I was Glenn Doherty's parent, then I'd be really upset about the politicization of this, and I'd want to know exactly what happened and why my son was killed there.
You know, on the email thing, you two, that happened today, it appears that the takeaway line from the Democratic debate, no one cares about the damn email, that's probably a fairly accurate statement in terms of the American people. Is it not, Shelley, Dante?
I actually don't think so. I think they may not care about the Sid Blumenthal emails. Frankly, I'm not sure
her friend who
I
was
care
emailing her a
about
private
the
email
Sid
about
Blumen.
Libya, yeah.
And they're spending much too much time on that.
And she said today, he was my friend, not my advisor. Whether that's true or not, who knows, but that's her line.
I mean, those emails are stacked this high. He was quite an active friend. But there were emails disclosed today to her family. There was one that I cite in what will be tomorrow's editorial about, at the same time she is issuing statements to the American public, still calling this an event related to an an anti-Muslim video. She's telling her family 2 dead in Benghazi, and it's at the hands of an Al-Qaeda affiliate. That's quite specific, and that is new news.
You know, even though Shelley Dante thinks, and obviously wrote, that it does matter, here, can we bring up a CNN poll? These numbers, to me, are pretty staggering. As you see, 72% of the American people, this is not Democrats, all Americans, 72%, 3-to-1, think it's for political gain. So the irony of this, it seems to me, is that not only will it not bring Hillary Clinton down, at least from what we know so far, as McCarthy suggested, it may hurt the Republicans, including their candidates, no?
Absolutely. I think Hillary Clinton's speech did sound like a sound speech, and
today you're talking about?
Yeah. And it was a case of her using what was, you know, came off to most people as a nakedly partisan event in a nakedly partisan way. She knew that she was being watched at every single moment. You know, she's not the type of person who lets her defenses down easily, and used the occasion in that way. And I think the line of questioning from Trey Gowdy and others did come across as something that was not, you know, as Gabriel says, was not meant to get to the facts of the situation, but there was a sort of partisan undertone, even to a lot of the questionings about the specific emails.
Can we stay on Hillary Clinton for a second? It seems to me she's sort of hit the trifecta in the last couple of weeks. She had a great debate performance by consensus, most people think. Joe Biden is not running, which accrues to her benefit, and she appears to have gotten through today relatively unscathed. So is it fair to conclude that she's really in the driver's seat in this
Let the
thing?
coronation begin?
Well, I mean, but it's not, I mean, it's democracy. The reality is Joe Biden's not running, and apparently she has weathered the most difficult 3 things she had to weather, no?
I think the Republicans are probably delighted at the fact that they will have Hillary as an opponent.
Well, you know who's particularly delighted? That's a perfect segue. It's almost like you planned it. Donald Trump had something to say about the vice president not running yesterday and about who he actually wants to run against. Here it is.
We had some news today that Biden is not running. And I think he did the smart thing because, frankly, I don't know that he would have won. He wouldn't have gotten the nomination. I don't think he probably would have. And frankly, I really want to run against Hillary. I really do.
So why'd you make that comment? Because you think that she's the easiest?
I think she's a good target. And I think some of the Benghazi stuff won't go away. There will be a taint to it, even if people aren't sure why
Is he
they're
the nominee
squeamish
of the
about
Republican
it.
Party?
Oh, dear Lord, I hope not.
Is he the nominee of the
I don't
Republican
think so,
Party?
no.
Peter King, Republican, high-profile Republican congressman, says that this guy, Donald Trump, is, quote, unfit to be president. Is he unfit?
I would think that someone who, seeked out and received four deferments, to avoid service during the Vietnam War, to serve in the military at all.
So Dick Cheney's unfit to serve as vice president?
As I said, I think anybody that has done that is unfit. I think it'd be hard to be commander-in-chief and look somebody in the eye and give the orders if you've done that.
Even though they're not crazy about Donald Trump, somebody sits here once a week and says, oh, he peaked. This week he peaked. And I assume someone's going to say, oh, when he said the president was going to sign an executive order to take away your guns, so patently untrue, that's the end. There is no evidence, none, at least by my way of looking at it, this guy is peaking at all, whether they'd like him to or not. Is that not a fair statement?
I think there is nothing in our normal analytic framework as political journalists that will tell us anything about what is happening here. It's really, I think, beyond our normal.
He's not peaking, right?
We can.
There's more. I mean, he's not peaking, right?
I'm one of those who has probably said that 3 or 4 times already. Yeah. And I think we all sense a certain anger out there that
he's capturing.
I think the irony is that the Republicans are dreaming that they want to run against Hillary Clinton, and they may rue that. And the Democrats on the other side are dreaming to run against Donald Trump, and they may rue that as well.
Can you run? Could you vote for Donald Trump?
I would have a hard time voting for Donald Trump.
Are you done with politics?
I'm not done with politics.
Not done with politics. Dante, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Shelley, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Gabriel, I haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see you as well.